Hello everyone, you are in the AutoCraft shop and today we will be repairing this car with a strong side impact. The accident occurred in winter during ice. Two cars were moving towards each other in their own lane. A strong gust of wind tore the Ford Fusion off the road and threw it into the oncoming lane and they collided sideways with Skoda. This is what Skoda looks like after this accident. The driver's door, the back door were badly damaged, the fender was dented inside. Instead of a wheel, of course, there is a spare tire. By the way the doors squeezed outward, it can be seen that the B-pillar is crammed inward. This can be seen in the front door opening, on the folds of the threshold. Accordingly, the A-pillar is also inside. We begin to disassemble the car, preparing it for repair. It looks like a disassembled body already on the slipway. Torn metal on the A-pillar, it's all chewed up. The crease on the threshold. The B-pillar is twisted and pressed inward, especially the lower part. The threshold broke, it became a semicircle. There were large folds in the back door area. The fender is quite heavily clogged inward. Many creases on the threshold which indicate the deformation of the body. We start pulling the car from the rear fender. We drag it outward, helping the metal straighten with a hammer, because we need to pull out the mudguard and straighten the folds, because we will change the mudguard partially. The fender corresponds to change entirely. From the rear fender we move on to the B-pillar. We pull out the bottom, tap with a hammer, helping the metal. We also tap the threshold through the bar. After pulling out the bottom of the A-pillar, again, remove the back door, throw a chain at the bottom of the pillar, pull the pillar outward. Now the video shows how the bottom of the pillar comes out, and the top of the pillar sits down a little bit. Due to the fact that the pillar is in a semicircle, pulling out the bottom, we return the pillar to the desired shape. That is why it was impossible, for example, to take some kind of rule, put it vertically on the right side, take measurements from the right B-pillar and transfer it to the left. It is very difficult to do this on such a form, so you have to pull it up, figure it out, look at the gaps. Having set both pillars and pulled out the mudguard on the rear fender, we proceed to work with the donor. Such a donor was brought to us by a client. Donor in perfect condition. I would like to draw your attention to the reinforcement of the threshold. It is made of a pipe. The pipe is attached in front of the sill and behind. The ends of this pipe are bent like a club. This indicates that this pipe works like a torsion bar, adding rigidity to the body. I haven't seen this reinforcement on any other car. The part is cut exactly as we need it. Marking and drilling. We drill boldly enough on the donor. It's okay if the drill goes through somewhere, since we will only need the part that we will separate, while on the body it will be necessary to drill carefully to avoid through holes. As always, we save the connection of the mudguard and the fender factory and intact, so we cut the mudguard with a margin in order to overwhelm it onto the mudguard, which we will have on the body. Having adjusted the size of the donor part and welded linings for future seams on the pillars and the threshold, we put the fender in its place, fix it with screws. We install doors, check the gaps. This is what the body looks like before welding. We adjust the body and the donor in one plane and start scalding with tacks in a run. We run a little forward, make a tack, go back, scald, approach this tack, again go ahead of the tack by 5, and so on throughout the doorway. I would like to tell you more about the seams on the planes using the example of the rear pillar. First, we make short tacks at a distance of 2.5–3 centimeters from each other. Then we weld adjacent tacks with small seams. While the metal in this place cools down, we go a little forward. We also weld a small seam between two more tacks. While the metal is cooling there, we return to the first one and so we weld the entire seam slowly, letting the metal cool down. Otherwise, there will be a strong deformation, and even straightening with a spotter it will be difficult to pull the metal out, or to hammer a bump, since there is a lining under the seam that strengthens this seam. In general, work with body metal is quite specific. It is necessary to weld constantly moving back and forth, gradually heating the metal, since it cannot be overheated. Therefore, you need to be as careful and attentive as possible. This is how the body looks after welding with the doors thrown over, with the lid closed. With elongated straightened threshold, welding spots splashed with protective soil. Even gaps on the hood, fender, headlight, front bumper. Even correct gaps between doors. This is how the car looks after our repair. It is painted and assembled. All the gaps are even, correspond to the factory ones. Although they painted and the colorist did a good job with silver, all the details are painted end to end. Friends, I remind you that we are trying to shoot interesting videos for you, and you in turn press something under the video, write comments, and do not forget to subscribe. We are starting the repair of the next car. See you soon.